Hi, everyone. Today we're going to talk about Pluto going into Aquarius. Aquarius energy is a very light and airy energy. It's humanitarian. And as a reminder, we're going to talk about Pluto energy and keywords, the cycles of Pluto, and also a little bit about Capricorn, because Pluto right now is in Capricorn. Then we're going to look at the transits. What is a transit and what does it mean on the chart? And then also we're going to look at the specific keywords for the sign of Aquarius, including the elements and the modality, and also many keywords about Pluto. We're also going to look at the placement, okay, of Pluto in your natal chart, and that will tell us a little bit of what's going on as far as future influences, and it will describe the effects, what may affect you in the next 20 years, because Pluto is a slow moving energy. As a side note, we're going to talk about death. We're going to talk a little bit about the law of attraction, the power of suggestion, free will, and the biology of belief. And then we will do a summary. Okay. So bear with me, everyone. I am an excellent astrologer, but technology, I have a little struggles with it. So forgive me in advance. So the first thing we're going to talk about is a transit. So I'm going to share the screen. One moment. So here we go. Currently in the sky, I use the ephemeris sky now, and today is February 24th. Right here is where we have Pluto. It's in the 8th house, and as a review, we'll show you that this is the astrology chart. This is the planetary positions and signs and houses right now in Virginia Beach. So we have the ascendant over here, we have the IC over here, and we have the descendant over here at 3 o'clock, and then we also have the MC. So as we go, we're going to look at Pluto in Capricorn. So Pluto moves at a very slow pace. Pluto is going to be going into the sign of Aquarius, and it will stay in the sign of Aquarius between 0 degrees 0 minutes to 29 degrees and 59 minutes. So it will take 20 years. So by 2043, Pluto will be out of Aquarius, and then it will go into the next sign, which will be Pisces, which would be very interesting. I'm not sure if I'll be here. I hope to be here, but that is a whole nother subject. So here we go. We have Pluto right here in Capricorn. And so we're going to move it to show you the transits. So you're going to watch this Pluto here. It represents the planet. And now it's moving in a clockwise position, and it will go and see how slow it goes day after day after day. And now we're going to stop in March 23rd. So March 23rd. And if you're into numerology, that's there 03232023. So any numerologists out there that want to put in the comment box what that means, I would love it. We'd all love it. And keep those questions coming in the comment box, and be sure you subscribe and like if you enjoy the video so far. By the way, my name is Ev Zerverdakis. I'm the founder of Holistic Healing Astrology, and I teach, lecture, and do consultations on astrology. Been doing it for 50 years. And you could check out my online platforms for other information we'll talk about later. So did you see how long it took? It took days and days to go just a few minutes of degrees in the signs. Okay, so Pluto is a slow traveler. So that means it has a very, very long-term effect. So transits are real-time cycles of the planets. So when we look at a chart, we look at the whole chart, but I'm just isolating Pluto today, because otherwise we'd be talking way too long. So when these planets move around, they're called transits. The personal planets move much quicker, and that's why we call them personal, because they have a more personal effect. But the outer planets, such as Pluto, move very slow, and they have a long-term lasting effect. Okay, so just reminder that all planets have cycles, and all the cycles are different. You know, they're different rates of speed, different paths. Okay, so now we've taken care of what's a transit and what's a cycle, and we're moving on to the Pluto keywords. So Pluto keywords are transformational. It means also death. It means crisis. It means powerful, devastating. It has to do with the 8th house. The natural house is the 8th house and the sign of Scorpio. So all those energies kind of work together, have the same kind of feel. And remember that all the component keywords can either be negative or positive. So I'm going to give you both negative and positive. And I always like to put a positive spin on what could happen. Yes, we could have death. Yes, we could have major destruction, but we'll just keep it on the light side for now. But everything happens for a reason. And remember, your natal chart is a representation of the contract that you made with your creator to come in at a specific time, because that moment in time is represented right here with your ascendant. Everybody knows their big three, but there's a lot more than the big three, as we all know, if you've been studying with me. So the big three, but the whole wheel chart starts right here at your ascendant. So if you put the information in incorrectly, if you're not using local mean time, et cetera, it may be off. But remember, the chart echoes the same ideas and energies repeatedly. That's called the echo. So that way, just to make sure that you understand and you got it right. So remember, there's 4,000 bits and pieces of information in this astrology chart. It's nothing more than possibilities that you can do in your lifetime. So when we study these charts and planets and transits and cycles, it's a reminder that this too shall pass. Cycles start and cycles end. Okay, so that's very important. So every time a planet, especially Pluto, leaves a sign, which it's leaving an earth sign, Capricorn, representing government, big business, big media, pharmaceutical, anything big, top down energy, all right, where you are under the authority of someone bigger than you or someone other than you. You're not all, sharing the same, who you are and this and that. So you're not individual, you're part of a corporation, such like that. So it's leaving that energy and it's moving into Aquarius, which is humanitarian. We're all connected. It's the cosmic realm. It's multiple universes and parallel universes and stuff like that that we're getting into. It's also part of the invisible world. So as we weave this story about what may happen in the coming 20 years, it's a good idea to kind of look at what's going on right now. What is going on? Are there some changes? Well, thanks to COVID, yes, things changed. We have changed in technology, which Aquarius represents technology, AI. Like right now, we're doing the Zoom. I am virtually speaking to you, but you're all going to get the message. So it's like I have my own TV station. I don't have to go to a real TV station, a physical one. and go through all that bureaucratic stuff. I create my own. And there are people now with TikTok and YouTube and all the social media platforms that could speak for themselves. We don't have to get the news anymore from the mass media, you know, the ABC, CBS, MSNBC, and CNN. They're losing followers, but yet people like Joe Rogan and that Brandt guy, you know, they have millions of followers and viewers. So you see that shift right before our eyes because it's such a slow process. We're feeling this change right now. We are in the middle of this huge change. Pluto's all about irreversible changes. Okay. It's dramatic changes. It's transformational. The caterpillar turns into the butterfly. Now, Pluto also represents when we go to the deepest levels. It represents psychology, psychic abilities, the mysteries, the unknown, under the ground where all the creepy crawly stuff is, in the sewers and the you know, crap and stuff like that. So it's an uncomfortable place. It's a very powerful place. It also represents great wealth. So now we could say that everyone's going to have an opportunity to have great wealth. Well, isn't that interesting? Because we all understand the law of attraction and we all understand that the universe is expanding, which, you know, is part of like, there's enough for everybody. So we could all be millionaires if that's what we want. You see? So I want you to start opening your eyes and start to pay attention, not just in your own personal chart, but globally and in the world that we live in. How are these changes taking place in Aquarius by blending these two groups of keywords together? And stay tuned to the end because I'm going to tell you something about these astrology component keyword sheets that I have produced. It's taken me years. I finally edited them and sent it to the web developer, and we'll be selling them online because it's taken a lot of work. And if you take one of my astrology classes, you'll have an option to buy them too. They'll go straight into your inbox. So I'm just excited about that because it's going to revolutionize astrology. You're not going to have to read all the books that I read just to learn astrology. You're just going to look at the keywords. And I'm on TikTok and I give you like 3-minute, 1-minute of video clips, you know, but you can't do astrology in 1 or 2-minute video clips. It just doesn't work that way. And I'm going to do this video in parts because I've had some challenges with the recording. So you never, it's like my 3rd time around, and but it looks like it's recording. So especially when you screen share. So as we were saying, the keywords, I'm going to intersperse the keywords for Aquarius and Pluto as we go. So, you know, some keywords on Pluto, some keywords about Aquarius. So whenever we look at a sign, we need to look at the building blocks of the sign, which are modalities and elements. So the Aquarian element is air, and the modality is fixed. So if you have an understanding of what those keywords are, then you're going to know keywords about all the fixed signs and all the air signs. So let's talk about air. We'll think of the element air. And if you look outside, air is very light. It's invisible, right? You could see clouds though sometimes because they're in the air. But now we have all kinds of energy and communication going through virtually the air. So look at Pluto. It represents the 8th house, which has to do with finances, shared resources. And you know, and I know that all our statements come in through the email, which are all stored in some big iCloud through technology. Aquarius represents technology. AI is used in medicine. So you see all the stuff that's already been happening is now coming in everyday life, and it's going to change our world the way we know it. For those of you that are resistant to coming on board with this kind of technology, I beg you, please, start learning how to maneuver the invisible world in all aspects, but especially with technology, because that's where everything is going. So yes, a lot of things could go wrong, and they do, but we have to master the system. And the human being is smart enough for everything that messes up, we could fix it too. Okay. So if you have been paying attention, this Pluto energy leaving Capricorn, it's in the 29th degree, which is a very critical degree, which has to do with an urgency. So right now, we're in the last phases of urgency. So government is urgent to control us, because Pluto's all about control. Media is, urgently trying to control us. Everybody's trying to control us, all these people of authority. Back when COVID was out there, we were controlled by the different powers that be. Fauci was telling us to wear masks. He was the doctor for everybody on the planet. We didn't have freedom to do what we wanted to do. Aquarius represents freedom. It represents liberation. It represents revolution. These are all key words for Aquarius. So it took me many lectures and workshops and travels to go and learn all this stuff, and reading hundreds of books. But it's, what does it mean to you? How does that affect your life, besides how it's affecting the world? But I'm challenging you, because the sign of Aquarius has to deal with the whole wide world. So the world is changing, irreversibly changing. So Pluto also represents irreversible changes, death, the end of something for the beginning of something else. It was discovered in the sky during the atomic bomb era, when they dropped the bomb in Japan. So that's the kind of energy that it has. It's very powerful. I always think of a fire department water hose that you hook up to a hydrant. That water will blast you over. It's very powerful. So, but wealthy people and wealth is very powerful too, because it helps us get what we want with ease. So we're looking at now the element air is very light again in Aquarius, and the modality is fixed, which means it's going to stay that way for a while. It's, we're going to be fixed in this electrical age, this age of maybe more than World Wide Web. So these changes are powerful changes. That's Pluto. And there could be scandals, it could be secrets, it could be corruption. We're all seeing this, but we're all connected. And it also has to do with, we're all talking about parallel universes and communicating without speaking, without the physical form, because air is not physical, but earth is physical. So Capricorn is leaving the forefront, and now we're going into that lighter energy. It's an intellectual energy. It's all about science and technology. Look at, in every aspect of our lives, we can learn whatever we want, research a recipe. You don't even have to buy a book. We have books on our phones. I have thousands of books right here on my phone. I could communicate with anyone with a phone. And this is only the beginning. This is only the beginning. So I expect some amazing stuff. I mean, I'm hoping that we could bypass the airports and just go in this little teleporter and say, all right, beam me up, Scotty. And then there I am in Greece, yeehaw. That's exciting for me. But use your imagination, because it's our imagination that inspires us. It comes from the invisible world. And then we, as humans in the physical sense, create these wonderful technologies. I don't want to hear about the bad stuff. There is a lot of bad stuff. And if you're saying, what is wrong with this woman? She, there's so much that could go wrong with AI. But yeah, that's true. But when you have Neptune right there on your ascendant in the 12th house, yeah, I kind of live in a fantasy land. But I do have a great vision. And one of my visions is to see each and every one of you out there be able to read your own chart without having to see an astrologer. And I'd like to see astrology used in every aspect of our life, whether it's in family dynamics, relationships, how to find the best hairstylist, the best doctor. Should be used in all corporations and workplaces, because there's compatibility factors, even choosing your wedding dates. Astrology is powerful. And as you know from past videos, astrology has been used for thousands of years. But before these, the technological advancements, where now everyone could find their own chart, whether it's correct or not, it's all available to us. But a professional astrologer will be able to figure out if it is indeed correct, because they're pretty sharp at doing things correctly. That's why we're professionals. But that being said, astrology has come a long way, and now everyone is embracing it, and it's not illegal. Back in the day when I was looking for a career path, I knew I wanted to heal in a certain way. I loved astrology, but that was something we didn't talk about, especially if you had a religious family, because you're going to burn in hell. I've been called a witch, all that divination stuff, all the invisible world stuff, talking to the dead, all that Pluto energy was taboo. We couldn't talk about it. So you had to find a career path that suited your needs, but that I had to find something that was legal. But now it came full circle. So in my retirement age, I could be a professional astrologer without any ramifications of going to jail, like a lot of other people that were pioneers in this field suffered. But the way I see it is that everyone is going to have that ability. It's going to be like, how everyone could cook their own meals, and everyone could be their own chef. Everyone could be their own hairstylist. Everyone could create their own videos, and everyone could have their own YouTube channel, because that's part of the energy of Aquarius. It's everyone. We're all equal. And it goes into that quantum field, the matrix, because we're all connected, like with these cords and energy strands. So that also is very Aquarian. And see the big changes. I mean, lots of people like Dolores Cannon worked with hypnotherapy, so she was able to help out a lot of people, and she got a lot of information. And the law of attraction, words of things, all that is part of this Aquarian Pluto energy. These massive changes, irreversible changes. Our world will never be the same. So you might say, well, isn't Uranus sudden changes and things like that? Yes. And by the way, Uranus is also the ruler of Aquarius. So they go together. But the difference between Pluto energy and Uranus energy is Uranus is quick like a lightning bolt. It's got a lot of electrical charge. It's, think of electricity, a lightning bolt. And, I really believe that in the very near future, they're going to be able to harness that electrical energy that comes down to Earth, in the lightning bolt form, and we could kind of harness it and disperse it and use it as electricity, just like solar, solar power. So Pluto is different. It is slower, and it is more powerful as far as like it happens very gradually and slowly. So it's like eating and smoking, eating the wrong foods, eating a hamburger, every day a triple burger, you know, a pound of meat, with all this bad food, all this bad sugar, and you don't feel it the next day or the next day or the next day, but after 20 years, you might have some health issues. Okay. So it's like smoking a cigarette or vaping. You could do that today. You're not going to feel it tomorrow or the next day or the next day, but long term, you're going to feel it. Where Uranus, you feel it right away because you just put your finger in the socket and you got a shock. Okay, so I hope I clarified that energy. But Pluto is also in that very high energized electrical energy sign of Aquarius, which has to do with friends and associations and groups and the collective whole. And it also has to do with electronics, and I may have repeated myself, but it's in the world as a connected, like the internet is connected in a big wide web. We might even have more internets. Okay. So it's that kind of thing. A lot of new technology coming on board and a lot of knowing, because Aquarius is about knowing. It's not the data, like Gemini, you know, they love information and data. It's they take that data and they process it. And it's not a philosophy like Sagittarius. It is they know. And if you've ever known a strong Aquarian personality type, they're the know-it-alls. They do, and they probably know everything because they're very scientific, they're very scholarly, they're very smart. And Aquarius is also on the different side. They're unique and they're a little quirky, original. They don't like to be the same. And they love their freedom. You know, they could be freelancers, but look, Pluto's going into the area of freelancing. Thanks to COVID, everybody's working remotely at home. Not everyone, a lot of people, but that's the way we're going. And these corporations, Pluto in Capricorn, they're like, no, you got to work. You got to show up in the office. So there's your rebellion. There's the revolting. But that's the energy. And I hope you're seeing that. So if you want to look at now, how is that going to play out very personally to you? You got to look at your natal chart and you could see how that's going to affect you. And because I'm kind of weak with my technological clicking, you know, with when you're psychic and you have all this energy, I could do things with my electronics that I don't want to do. So I'm minimizing how much I maneuver on this Zoom because I don't want to do it again. So anyhow, so you look on your astrology chart and you're going to look at anything 29 degrees in your natal chart that is in a cardinal sign. Cardinal sign would be Aries, it would be Cancer, Capricorn, and Libra. Those are cardinal signs. So if you have anything 29 degrees, you've been feeling it, you're going to continue to feel it, but not for long because it's going to lighten up. But if you have anything in a fixed sign, which would be Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius in 0 degrees, then you're going to feel this transformation. You're going to feel these sudden changes. Now, it will depend on what it makes contact with. If it's a major aspect and or a conjunction, which is a contact. So a contact, a direct contact is a conjunction, or it will aspect through a contact. You will feel it. And depending on what it triggers in your aspect patterns in your natal chart will tell a whole nother story, how it affects you personally. But don't get freaked out. I mean, if you're going to change, you're going to let go of your ego. And so you want to see where in particular is this big ego going to dissolve. It's also power struggles, you know. This kind of energy represents compulsions and you know, controlling everybody. So so the one, like I said about Pluto, it takes you down to the deepest depths, hitting rock bottom, maybe, but excuse me, you will soar up like an eagle, the phoenix, higher than you've ever been before. So you pay your dues, but you will be rewarded. The thing is, you stick with it. So all these energies in the chart represent different ways that energies affect us and how we control and cope with our lives. So the first thing, of course, is you got to look at what is out of my control and what is in my control. And so Pluto, because it has to do with control, sometimes you have to surrender. And you have to look at it and say, can I control this earthquake? No. But if you're living in Turkey, and by the way, as a side note, here's Uranus over here in Taurus. Taurus is an earth sign. It has to do with possessions and the earth. And Uranus has to do with sudden and unexpected changes, also earthquakes and weather. And look what happened. You know, they had a major earthquake. But and let's see what happens when this Pluto becomes square with Uranus. You know, what does that mean? But as we're watching the whole earth, we know that the axis is shifting, and time is shifting. It's increasing. People in NASA know about it. They may not be talking about it. They're suggesting stuff about changing the calendar, but these are irreversible changes, you see? So we could go on and on about these changes, but so when you go back into, I'm going from the mundane, which has to do with the whole world, and then we go into the personal charts. So let's say this is you and you were born with all these planets. So if you were born on March 23rd, 2023, your planets were lined up like that. So then you would see, oh, well, Pluto is in the 7th house, and it's making squares to this area here, you know, in the 10th house. So that's how you would do it. And by the way, if you want a professional consultation, a natal chart reading would be the first way to go. It's a 90-minute session. You just hop on holistichealingastrology.com and you schedule that. And then we could, after that, at another session, you could look at your future influences. And that's when we look at several charts. I like to use the solar arcs, the solar returns, especially on your birthday. You must see your astrologer when it's your birthday with a solar return. It gives you the whole new energy pattern for that coming year. It does work. And then we look at transits, but only the outer planets. So it's kind of cool. And if you want to learn about astrology, I have classes coming up in March 6th for 8 weeks. You'll know the beginning, you know, how you could read your own chart. Astrology made super easy. And I'll repeat all this at the end of this video. Okay, so remember, go into your chart, plot it, and see where Pluto's going to be. But then you want to look at all these other outer planets. Where is Neptune 25 degrees Pisces in your chart? Where is Saturn 1 degree Pisces in your chart? And where is Black Moon Lilith in Leo in your chart? And where is Uranus in Taurus in your chart? The rest of them, they move too quickly. You can look at Jupiter, that's a few years, but all the planets have different cycles and different paths. And that's a reminder, the cosmic reminder that everything starts and everything finishes. So right now we're in the starting phase with Pluto in a new energy. So it's an exciting time, because whenever there's a 0 degree in your chart, so if you were born with anything 0, look, all these children born with 0 degrees from March 23rd on, and the whole planet, they're going to have this very exciting new beginning in this area, where this generation will transform the world into the next era of Pluto, which will be Pisces. So I hope you're getting a feel of how astrology tells this marvelous story. And it's like a spider web, it just, and then I didn't mention we have these blue lines, red lines, and green lines. These are called aspects. So Pluto right now in March 2023 has some beneficial, opportunistic aspects. It has some work to do, some things that we have to balance out, some more work. And that's how that goes. And then I also use the quintiles and quinticelli. Here we have quintiles, quinticelli aspects, which talk about obsessions and urgencies in the chart. So, excuse me, I am a Western astrologer, not Vedic, and modern, holistic. I look at the whole picture, and I'm very thorough because I have Saturn in the first house. So I'm very thorough. So let's talk a little bit about the law of attraction. And the law of attraction, as you know, energy flows where our attention goes. So we want to be optimistic when we look at our future influences because we create our future. Excuse me. And we also have to consider the power of suggestion. And so the power of suggestion has been documented over time in medicine. And by the way, I was a medical professional, worked in the laboratory of medicine. I worked in the morgue because death was an important part of my astrology chart. Also very psychic. I also got messages from the dead and the unseen world, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But so many times in medicine, they would look at the wrong chart and tell the wrong person that they had a fatal disease, and that healthy person ends up getting really sick and dying. It's the power of suggestion. And yet the person that was really sick that was told they're fine because they were reading the wrong chart. And that kind of stuff happens, by the way, in the medical profession. Now people are starting to talk about it, but it's a whole nother subject. So as an ethical astrologer and metaphysical reader, I am very careful when I suggest things. I will tell you what is going on with the planetary energy, but that doesn't mean that this will definitely happen. Vedic astrologers and ancient astrologers like the Hellenistic and stuff, they could predict deaths and heart attacks and stuff like that, but like it's a prediction. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen. You could look back in hindsight and say, oh, so there it is. That's when my father died. And it may not have to do with Pluto, because it may have been more of a relief because the person was dying of a slow, lingering death, cancer. But if it's a sudden, shocking death, there might be the planet of Uranus involved with it. So there's no clear-cut, formula for predicting death. So, we can't suggest a death of a person. It's just not ethical. Or even saying, I can't tell you how many clients I've had where they went to readers and they said, yeah, you got to get rid of that boyfriend because he's no good for you. And it's not my decision. I help people empower themselves to be confident and to say, okay, this is the road I'm going to take and I'm going to make this decision. I help you get to that conclusion by giving you some evidence based on your chart and the card reading. I always do a card reading at the end of an astrological session because these energy cords and spirit and our spirit guides and guardian angels and everything else out there, totem animals, our ancestors, they could talk and communicate through the cards. It's a manipulation of energy. And if they want you to know based on your soul and what you need to know, it will always come out in the chart. And like this one girl had a she had her ruling planet was Pluto, and all the cards that came up from I used multiple decks, and on the four decks it was all Pluto keywords. So that's the way it works. So I said, well, the emphasis is on Pluto, and so pay attention to that. And then I highly recommend that you guys record it, or you could ask to have your session in a Zoom. Okay, so moving forward, if you haven't heard about that book, The Biology of Belief by Dr. Bruce Lipton, he's a cell biologist. He's a hero in my mind, because I worked with cells for a good 30 years in the medical profession, looking for abnormalities, cancers, viruses, and effects and patterns of cells. They're alive, and it was very fascinating to me that people with pre-malignant cells, some people would go back to normal and some people would turn into a hideous cancer, and that we could never figure out why. We didn't have enough information. But looking forward, if anybody out there has the power to do a study on people's thinking and people's beliefs and optimism and negative thinking and blah, 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 maybe that has something to do with it. If you're always mad and resentful and angry, because they say that energy and aura and that color red is surrounding cancer patients. So we can't hold on to anger. It's very unhealthy, and we know that. And stress causes a lot of heart attacks and problems, and also losing a loved one. People have died from a broken heart. So all this kind of information is coming to the surface. It was not very scientific because we weren't supposed to talk about spirituality in the hospital, but this brave soul, Dr. Bruce Lipton, took stem cells and put them in different culture mediums and found that the environment changed the cell differentiation. So a stem cell could turn into anything. But we used to believe that your DNA predicts and predetermines if you're going to have cancer and every other disease. Well, now they're saying, no, there's a thing called epigenetics. And our thoughts and our beliefs could change our DNA. So, and Joe Dispenza did a lot of work on that subject as well. So we're ending now. Thank you for hanging in there. If you're one of the few that hung in there, very good. So in summary, we talked about the cycles. We talked about the transits because they cycle around, and also Pluto and Aquarius, a little bit about Capricorn, the elements of air and fixed modality, our keyword favorites that I mentioned, house placements, and the potential future influences. They're not necessarily predictions. The influences is what I could tell you about. How it's going to play out is really up to you because you have free will. So I think I missed death, so I'm going to squeeze it in here. The death that I want to talk about, because we did talk about law of attraction. Death is a very serious subject. It's been taboo for many, many years. And I want everyone to pay attention, very, very close attention. Death is a real thing. You all know that. There's a lot of people now talking about death, communicating to the dead. Also, hospice nurses that will tell you what they encounter with the death. We have journals from the 1980s that talk about the near-death experiences. So that's all part of Pluto, and we're going into Aquarius. So we're going to have great knowing about death. But on the practical side, the funeral industry has been making a killing on the guilt of us losing our loved ones. We don't lose them if we understand that they just went from a caterpillar into a butterfly. They transformed, just like we were before we came here. We were spirit, and we didn't have a physical body. And that being in the womb and that unknown is right there in the 12th house. That is that unknown part where you're all by yourself. You're that human little embryo growing inside. And also, when we talk about death, we have to understand that we have to dispose of the human body. And, you know, I have met a lot of people that said, I don't care, because when I die, it's not going to be my problem. Very selfish attitude. You know, you could give the best gift like my father did. He had a pre-need funeral and he had it all arranged and he did it his way. And God bless him for that, because with my mom, she didn't want to talk about it. She was so afraid of death. It was a living nightmare. And oh my gosh, cleaning up the house and, you know, not knowing what to do with all this stuff. It was very chaotic, very Pluto-like. That was very Pluto-like, because it was irreversible changes. And even the family rifted apart. So sometimes things just won't mend because of death. But for goodness sake, if the best thing to do is communicate right now, put things in writing, let your loved ones know what you plan on doing. Don't try to control behind or beyond the grave. Oh, well, I changed my mind and they'll figure it out when I die. That's horrific. So now the two kids that you have, they're going to fight with one another because they're not going to understand why you said you were going to give the house to the one and then you change your mind and give the house to the other without discussion. Very immature, very a disaster. It's just a real disaster. So get things in order, have things in writing, communicate what you want to do. One of the best eulogies I've ever heard and read was composed by a very talented woman who did a lot for women's rights in DC. I knew her personally. I didn't know that she had all these accomplishments, but I asked her daughter-in-law if she did the eulogy and the obituary, and she said no, she did it herself. It was all pre-done in advance. So do what's comfortable for you, but have things organized and ready. And if there are inheritances, be open about it. It's only material stuff, but I've seen material stuff get in the way of love and happiness. And then when people die, the other thing, I have a lot of mediumship work that I do. And the big thing is like, are they in a good place over there? And I feel so guilty. I didn't tell them I love them enough. You know, they feel guilty. So you don't want to be that person that feels the guilt, and they're really not dead. They are just in a parallel universe or dimension where they are alive. They're just not physical. So you could always ask for signs from them, and they will give you signs. Just know that they are around you, because we have cords that are connected to persons, places, and things. Okay. So that's my little lecture about death, because it is very important. And you don't want to get ripped off, you know, because you died suddenly or you didn't have your ducks in a row. And now your family members have to, you know, come up with all this cash to do something. And then it may not be what you wanted them to do. Okay. Very morbid subject. I'm sorry, but that's Pluto. It has to do with morbidity as well. So if you want to get in touch with me, you can hop on my website, holistichealingastrology.com. The new site will be coming up shortly, maybe in the next 2 or 3 weeks, just in time for Pluto going into Aquarius. It's going to be big. You could call me at 757-513-7771, 757-513-7771. You could text me too, or you could email me at holistichealingastrology.com. You could check out my short videos on TikTok. I post every day. Then I upload them on YouTube for those people that don't have TikTok. I don't do very much right now with Instagram because just time constraints. And And we also have blogs. Once a week, my blog comes out on a Wednesday, and I do a monthly newsletter to keep you guys abreast with the planetary weather. And I talk a little bit about equal time with the metaphysical world, the spiritual side, the law of attraction, and all that good stuff that helps us understand the world that we live in. So if you want to learn astrology, or we got classes coming up March 6th for 8 weeks. We're going to do them through Zoom online. So you can hop on board and get on that wait list, because I haven't opened up the class yet. It's coming soon, and a full description of the class, Astrology Made Super Easy. You'll be able to read your chart and understand your chart a lot better. That is on holistichealingastrology.com. So we will talk soon, and I am working on doing a 1-day workshop, very intense, for type A personalities that don't, money is no object, and we're going to decipher the whole chart in 1 day. So it'll be powerful. But if you're interested in that, send me the information, that you are interested in any of those products, and I'll get back to you. So thank you for your indulgence. I love you guys, and happy Pluto and Aquarius coming up. We'll talk soon.